So as I said, we've got two types of project now. So those who've logged in the last week, the early insights went live last week, will notice that when they hit that add button, they now get a choice of two things. So a final footprint would be a project like you would have made before. And an early insight is the new version, the new feature. So I'm just going to run you through the differences between these two features. So early insights, use at an early stage. Use when you're scripting or you're bidding. And what that's giving you is ballpark estimates based on your educated guesses. And we've got lots of drop downs in there for you to select between. So there's not too much you have to kind of come up with out of thin air to compare different ideas. And we'll give you some examples of comparing different options in a bit. The entry is super simple and is across 10 activity areas. And it gives you reduction ideas to implement now, i.e. things you can do going forward on the production that you're about to start or that you're bidding on, or that you're maybe putting a budget together for. Things you can change before they happen. It's visible to anyone at your company. There are basic in-tool analytics, so a pie chart and some numbers to accompany that. There's a basic PDF report, which I'll show you an example of in a bit. And they just have one status. They aren't sort of in progress or finished. They are just existing as items. And they don't go into the AdGreen dataset because ultimately a lot of these are probably going to be tests or ideas to kind of, try things out. They're not necessarily going to be projects that definitely have happened. So on the contrary, final footprints, you're going to use those when you're wrapping. When you have a sort of actual picture of your production, you know how many people did come to your shoot, for example. You had a settled location of where that shoot was happening. You know exactly how many catering heads you had. You've made all those decisions. You have that information. Because it's after the shoot, it's going to give you reduction ideas that you can use for longer term plans. So we're talking about things like assessing your impact over a period of time, perhaps that's a year or 6 months, and seeing where those big things are. It's visible to your company, just like early insights, but also to any company that you add to your final footprint. So there's a details pane, just like there is in early insights, and you're able to manage companies and add other companies. So for example, if you're an agency, you might add the brand so they can see it too. And you might also add a production company so that they can enter information as well. So it means that everyone can collaborate, everyone can see the information. So there's lots of visibility. Final footprints also give you more detailed in-tool analytics and a more detailed report. And they also have two states. So in progress for anything that you're currently working on, and finished for when you're finished. The finished projects go into our data set because we assume that those happened and that they aren't tests if you're marking them as finished. And we do a little bit of cleanup at the end of the year, just in case there's any test projects that have been kind of marked as finished. But generally speaking, finished is for when you've completed that footprint. You can reopen them, no problem at all. And you'll also be able to get a project list export to Excel. So much more flexibility, but much more detail required, but they give you much more sort of insight.